Topuria versus Islam Makhachev.
I really know that I have the ability to shock the world.
I'm tired to give chance the small guys.
Former double champ Daniel Cormier has just shared some interesting insight that's got fans talking a potential showdown between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev, and it could be happening as early as this summer. Daniel Cormier recently said it would not be surprising if Ilia Topuria winds up fighting Islam Makhachev, and there's a strong narrative behind that. A reigning champion from a lower weight class potentially dropping his title to go up in weight and face one of the most dominant fighters in the UFC makes for a great story.
Wouldn't be surprising if it's him versus Islam, because him versus Islam is kind of a fight that you almost expect, right? Almost expect whenever you have a guy like the champion going up to another weight class and have a dominant champion that's beaten so many guys in that weight class that he's going up to.
Alexander Volkanovski admitted he was actually shocked by the news of Ilia Topuria moving from the featherweight division so shortly after becoming the champion. As competitive as the division is, the move was unexpected. Even with the shocking nature of the move, Volkanovski proved his class by speaking well of Topuria. He also commended Ilia for having the confidence and courage, crediting that overcoming the weight gap so early has to do with a lot of self-belief. Although it may appear rash to others, Volkanovski admired the ambition involved.
Were you surprised at all that he went up and didn't hang on to the title, that he vacated and, went this route?
Yeah, it's pretty surprised with him vacating. I knew he wanted to chase the lightweight title and move up, like I heard him saying that. But I didn't think he would, give up the belt that easy. I thought he would try and hold it. So that's why you got to have respect for that.
And then,
but full credit to him, you know what I mean? You got to give him a lot of respect.
Daniel believes it's a lose-lose situation for Islam. If he beats Ilia, it just means he beat another featherweight, and despite the successful title defense, Islam's name would still be slandered. This is why it is his best choice to avoid this fight, as nothing good seems to come out of it.
Well, he's defended the belt 3 times against featherweights, because at the end of the day, guys, it doesn't matter what you do or in high regard you hold someone. The fact that he was the champion in a lower weight class is what's going to be pointed to the moment Islam beats him. Because anytime you have a dominant champ, anytime, you look for reasons to discredit them. Happens all the time.
Khabib agreed with DC, mentioning Islam's previous fights in an interview with Henry Cejudo. He mentioned that Islam already gave 2 chances to flyweights, which, despite winning, he still got his name slandered. Regardless of UFC orchestrating these fights, Islam was still not considered highly and was rather criticized as he defended against flyweights.
Ilia Topuria. I like what Ilia Topuria is doing. I really do. I like the fact that he said, you know what, I want to go up to 155 pounds, fight the #1 contender. If he wins, and then if he wins that, then he fights Islam. I think that's good, brother. Look, listen, Ilia Topuria knocked out 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Those guys are amongst the greatest featherweights of all time. I think he deserves.
I think if he move up and he beat somebody like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira, he's next on the line. Why not? Because there is nobody.
So you don't think right now Ilia deserves a shot at 155 pounds?
Without fighting in 155? Without? No, I don't agree. Because Islam already give chance, and people talk bad about like, oh, he fight 2 times with Volkanovski, but the UFC push this fight, and this fight was good in first fight, but why Islam have to give 3 times chance for 145 champion? Why? It's not fair for 155 pounds.
Right.
But if he move up and he beat somebody like Charles Oliveira, of course.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I think, you know what I think?
Yeah.
I think he can beat him.
Yeah.
I think he can beat him.
I like Charles, but I think so too.
No, I think Ilia can beat him.
Ben Askren, however, gave a compelling argument for that, which is that Topuria gave up his belt and vacated the division, so he is not a featherweight at that point because he openly vacated it, thus leaving no room for criticism on Islam, even if he wins.
He's no longer a featherweight. It's not like he's saying, let me hold this featherweight belt and let me come up. He is not holding the featherweight belt. He has vacated the featherweight belt. He is no longer a featherweight.
Further in the interview, Khabib added that it would be much better if Ilia fought against top contenders first, such as Charles Oliveira, and then he could aim for the title shot. According to him, a direct matchup for the title would be unfair to Islam.
Ilia Topuria. I like what Ilia Topuria is doing. I really do. I like the fact that he's saying, you know what, I want to go up to 155 pounds, fight the #1 contender. If he wins, and then if he wins that, then he fights Islam. I think that's good, brother. Look, listen, Ilia Topuria knocked out 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Those guys are amongst the greatest featherweights of all time. I think he deserves.
I think if he move up and he beat somebody like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira, he's next on the line. Why not? Because there is nobody.
So you don't think right now Ilia deserves a shot at 155 pounds?
Without fighting in 155? Without, no, I don't agree. Because Islam already give chance, and people talk bad about like, oh, he fight 2 times with Volkanovski, but the UFC push this fight, and this fight was good in first fight, but why Islam have to give 3 times chance for 145 champion? Why? It's not fair for 155 pounds.
Right.
But if he move up and he beat somebody like Charles Oliveira, of course.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I think, you know what I think?
Yeah.
I think he can beat him.
Yeah.
I think he can beat him.
I like Charles, but I think so too.
No, I think Ilia can beat him.
Ilia reacted to this interview of Khabib and believed that this solution was not practical. He didn't feel as if this fight would attract much of an audience and would be a waste of effort. Ilia mentioned past efforts of Henry Cejudo and George St. Pierre, who went up in weight and fought for a second belt, which makes him believe that he should also get that chance.
Henry Cejudo, you watch him in the video, he moved up, he fought for the second belt. Conor, he fought for the second belt. George St. Pierre, he fought for the second belt. I can like mention you so many names that fought for that second belt. Why not me?
Ilia also criticized Oliveira on his fighting ability, giving out the blunt statement that a fight with Oliveira wouldn't be a big matchup as he just gives up too quickly and that he doesn't have the heart left to go all in.
He's a dangerous guy in the ground, but I think that he's the kind of guy that when he feels that you are more powerful, he gives up. He gives up like fast.
In return, Charles Oliveira also didn't hold back as he demanded the respect that he and other fighters in the lightweight division deserve. Given the situation that has been developing for the last couple of days, this ongoing feud between the two might just result in a personal bout and the winner then fighting for the belt.
First of all, we've got Charles Oliveira out there saying that Topuria is being disrespectful. He said, I've been in the UFC for 15 years and I've never spoken poorly about anyone. I think Topuria is disrespectful with what he said. I want to remind everyone that the toughest division is lightweight. I've been in it for years, so I have something to say. I know the firepower that I have. I think Topuria needs to get into the division more calmly, more slowly, because there's a lot of tough guys who deserve respect.
Michael Bisping also joined Khabib's side regarding the issue, concurring that Ilia Topuria must battle a top challenger before going up against Islam Makhachev. He especially singled out the constant exchange of words between Topuria and Charles Oliveira as an indication that this fight is getting hot. In Bisping's opinion, with the tension already established and the narrative building up, a Topuria versus Oliveira fight makes sense both competitively and from a promotional aspect. In his opinion, this fight could very well happen before any title fight against Islam, providing the UFC with a good co-main or headliner and lending credibility to Ilia's lightweight campaign.
What's happening is that Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira are talking a lot of back and forth, and that just might be the fight that gets made.
Demetrious Johnson also chimed in on the building discussion about the possible fight between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. He was on board with the notion that, prior to entering the octagon against the lightweight champion, Topuria first needs to go up against an actual contender within the division, namely a guy like Charles Oliveira. Johnson underscored that the kind of matchup would not only create hype, but also be an appropriate test for Ilia at 155 pounds. pounds. In his view, it's a wiser decision for both fighters in that it keeps Islam's reputation intact while providing Topuria with the opportunity to show he's where he belongs before seeking the lightweight title.
It could be a shitty thing is that if Ilia goes up and he fights for a number one contendership fight, which I think he should fight, maybe Charles.
Ilia Topuria spoke about how a straight title fight against Islam Makhachev is not only warranted, but also something the UFC would be in favor of. He mentioned the allure of an undefeated champion stepping up in weight, voluntarily relinquishing his featherweight title to take on a dominant title holder in a higher weight class. In Topuria's opinion, this sort of high-risk, legacy-based storyline is the sort of narrative the UFC lives for. Although it might be riskier than rewarding for him as an individual, he feels that the promotional value and publicity that a fight like this would bring makes it a victory for the UFC as an organization.
Ilia Topuria. I like what Ilia Topuria is doing. I really do. I like the fact that he's saying, you know what, I want to go up to 155 pounds, fight the number one contender. If he wins, and then if he wins that, then he fights Islam. I think that's good, brother. Look, listen, Ilia Topuria knocked out 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Those guys are amongst the greatest featherweights of all time. I think he deserves.
I think if he move up and he beat somebody like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira, he's next on the line. Why not? Because there is nobody.
So you don't think right now Ilia deserves a shot at 155 pounds?
Without fighting in 155? Without? No, I don't agree. Because Islam already give chance, and people talk bad about like, oh, he fight 2 times with Volkanovski, but the UFC push this fight, and this fight was good in first fight, but why Islam have to give 3 times chance for 145 champion? Why? It's not fair for 155 pounds.
Right.
But if he move up and he beat somebody like Charles Oliveira, of course.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I think, you know what I think?
Yeah.
I think he can beat him.
Yeah.
I think he can beat him.
I like Charles, but I think so too.
No, I think Ilia can beat him.
Ben Askren gave a better solution for Ilia, as he knows, Ilia knows, and most importantly, Dana knows how much of a massive fight this could be. He could just pressurize the Dagestani champion to fight otherwise. It could cost him his belt.
I think Dana should just do Dana stuff and just say, hey, Islam, if you don't want to fight, you're stripped. He's done that. That is in Dana's repertoire.
Let us know in the comments. Should Topuria go straight for Islam or earn it by taking out a contender first? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We've got more fight talk coming your way.